We have to start with the biggest game in the world because it is the biggest game in the world. Barcelona beating Real Madrid 2-1 at the Bernabeu. The lead is now 12 points.
Yeah.
Is it game over? What percentage game over is it?
12 games to go, so still 36 points on the table. But I think 12 points, the gap is massive. It really is. I don't see Barca losing. I don't see Real Madrid winning all of them, 12 of them. And then in the same time, Barcelona, who only have, let's not forget, apart from the Copa del Rey, the semi-final second leg to play against Real Madrid, by the way, again, at the Camp Nou, but don't have any European competition to play. So it's basically one game a week. So for me, no I Liga, as they say, and Barcelona will have their first Liga in 4 years. Let's not forget, 4 years is a long time for a club like that, for not winning the domestic title.
It certainly feels that way. It would take an enormous collapse.
Yeah.
You know, based on my very scientific Marcotti principle, is if your lead is greater than the remaining games left in the season or equal to it, you will probably win the Premier League, right? Or you probably win whatever title you're in. In terms of this game, Carlo Ancelotti came out afterwards. And look, I'll give you my capsule of the game, and unless you want to heavily dispute it, I thought Barcelona came out better, perhaps because they were at home. I thought they created some chances without completely dominating in the first half. I thought that even though Real Madrid took the lead against the run of play with Araujo own goal, Barcelona getting the equalizer just before the break. Might have been a different story there, the ball pinballing around, whatever. But then in the second half, until Carlo made the substitutions, I thought Barcelona were still in control. And Barcelona said, points, great, fine. I didn't see Real Madrid getting back into it. And then he makes the substitutions, and then there's the Asensio goal, which gets called off for offside. In real time, it looked very, very close. Yeah. I've been conditioned after 5 years of VAR and saying, like, oh, that looks really, really close. Let's see what VAR says, and whatever VAR says is gospel. Yeah. It is to me, right? They do not have semi-automatic offsides. Carlo thought differently, though.
He just said that it's not 100%. He's not 100% convinced, and there's not 100% proof that Asensio is actually offside on Koundé.
And the laws say, do we need 100% proof?
But I thought VAR gave you that anyway, with the lines and everything.
There is no clear and obvious error threshold with offsides. You and I know that. I'm pretty sure Carlo knows it too.
I know. But you can see his frustration though, because he thought they'd won the game.
Yeah.
It's 82nd or 83rd minute.
Marco Asensio certainly thought he'd won the game too. Yeah. I think that frustration probably also stems from the fact that, look, in the end, should they somehow come back and get in, and make it close at the end of the season, they can look back and say, oh, this one call, these millimeters cost us the title. Fine. But I always we can bring this up with VAR. I always refer you back to what it was like pre-VAR. Yeah. You would have had an assistant referee making a call in a split second, because that is so tight. I don't see how a human referee can necessarily get it, be 100% one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
And no matter what call he makes, he will either get in Spain, he will either get savaged and crucified by the Madrid press or by the Barcelona press. Here, instead, some people are savaging VAR, which is a protocol, a machine, which is fine. One interesting aspect of this is it's customary, and I think it's a wonderful custom that they have in La Liga, is before every game, the two presidents of the team, they have a gala lunch or gala meal, and they sit together next to each other. Florentino did not show up to this game. The gala lunch was canceled. Most people interpret it, because obviously Florentino and Joan Laporta had been working together quite closely on Super League issues and whatnot. A lot of people say, or the stock answer is, well, Florentino is part of the civil suit, or Real Madrid are part of the civil suit against Barcelona in the Negreira refereeing case. I mean, I'm assuming that's why he didn't feel he should show up. Personally, I think Florentino looks at the situation. This is my interpretation of Florentino. Why he didn't sign the paper straight away. I don't think he's particularly fussed about this, because there's no sporting sanctions and no points penalty, so it's not like Barcelona are going to be stripped of the title this year. He needs Laporta's help with his Super League plans. if Real Madrid could draw benefit on the pitch, fine, but all they're going to do is fine Barcelona. Am I wrong in this?
No, maybe he thought like, it's time to take our distances a little bit with Barcelona.
Because a lot of fans are Real Madrid fans are very, very angry.
Yeah. So he said maybe it's better not to be seen with him and with, in that gala, maybe people can think it's a show of support or something like that. I don't know. It's just the decision that he took, but we kind of knew it anyway, so it was not a big surprise.
All right, Jules, I want to spend a little more time on this because, as you know, like Super League is something I've covered very closely. I'm really interested in the implications of this. Bernd Reichert, who is the CEO of A22 Sports, was there at the game.
Florentino, of course he was.
Well, you say that, but very few people have actually met him in the flesh, to the point that, I remember joking with somebody from the ECA about whether he was real, he was a real person, or whether he was just some...
No, he was interviews and everything.
Yeah, on video, right, where he turns to the camera and he says, like, no, but it's not hard to sort of CGI generate some German-looking dude. No, I'm joking.
Pep Guardiola was there as well, by the way.
Pep was there as well, yes. But let's get back to Florentino, who was not there. I have the sense that, all right, obviously right now, if you're Florentino, you look around to your Super League allies. And obviously, he believes in the project. He wants the project. He believed in the project 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But strategically, you're looking around and, realistically, also because, let's face it, you rewrote the rules so that only you could realistically be elected president. Plus, you win the Champions League most years, so you're fine. Like, so you're in the situation where you're effectively Real Madrid president for life, but you still care about having the support of Madridismo because
of course.
And I've been critical of him many times in the past. I've praised him, but he knows that Real Madrid as a football club, that type of club, is only as strong as the fans, the Madridismo, the belief of the people behind them.
Yeah.
And I get a sense that while there are a lot of Real Madrid fans in the diaspora across the world who, watch on TV and stuff like that, who would love the idea of a Super League because maybe they don't have the same historic cultural connection that people who might be Spanish and go to the games do.
Yeah.
They believe in it. I think there's a big chunk of Real Madrid fans who do have a connection because they're in Spain. They've been, their grandparents, their abuelos were Real Madrid members or whatever, who believe the Super League is necessary because they don't trust UEFA or the game is changing, and that's fine. But I also think there is a big chunk of Real Madrid fans who say, hang on a second, we're not 100% on board with the Super League.
Yeah.
At the same time, certainly the Ultrasur have made that point. Others have made that point. People who want a more traditional type of Spanish football want that. And at the same time, what they're really not on board is we don't want the Super League at the expense of us bending over and ignoring what Barcelona might have done in the Negreira case.
Yeah.
So I think that is why, after initially kind of, voting present, to use a term from Congress, he had the club go in the civil suit, and why he needs to create some distance. And I wonder if this distance is also has him thinking, wait a minute, who are my allies in this project right now? What strong allies can I count on, right? And you've got Juventus with their 15-point penalty, criminal investigations left, right, and center. Andrea Agnelli gone.
Yeah.
And you have Barcelona with the levers, now with the Negreira case, with uncertainty over revenue, over future, and whatever. And he says, am I really in this strong position on my own? Where are my peeps? Where are my allies, right?
It's true.
Yeah, he knows that Milan and Inter will jump back in. He knows that Atleti will. But two of those three clubs also have serious issues of their own.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he isn't ready. I don't want to say pause it. He's going to wait for the ECJ judgment.
Yeah.
He's not giving up on it. But it's also, I think he feels this is not the time to really go and push this. Let's let Bernd Reichert go and kind of be the face of things and do his consultations. And let's let the court, do their job.
Yeah. I mean, there was no point him taking the risk to be seen with Laporta and then imagine the headlines or to make the Real Madrid fans not happy or furious or anything. You don't go. Laporta is not going to hold it against you anyway. He can completely understand why you're not coming over. Okay, it looks strange because for so many years we used to have, I mean, for every single game we used to have the two president of the two Spanish clubs fighting each other, Clasico or not Clasico, sat next to each other in the stands. Not this time. It's okay. There were other people there from the club.
All right, let's go back to the game and let's start with Barcelona. We've made the point that this is a much tougher-minded Barcelona. It's a much more direct Barcelona right now. I think that's also because of the absence of Pedri. I think that's a style of play. You know, they always talk about controlling games and stuff. I think they're controlling games now by being direct, which probably suits Rafinha, suits Lewandowski, because that's what he was used to before. I'm not saying these guys can't play in different ways, right? But we saw it again. But were you surprised when he put Sergio Roberto ahead of the president, Frank Kessie?
Yeah. I thought I was a bit surprised. I wanted Kessie to start. To be fair, I thought they would be far more effective with him. As you know, and everybody knows, I'm not a Sergio Roberto fan anyway. To be fair, he scored. Apart from the goal, not too convinced of what he did anyway. But Xavi seems happy with him after the game, saying he understands well the tactics, when to go forward, when to press, when to go and help Araujo. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I didn't see that enough. But to be fair, and Xavi also said, I was between two minds before the game who started. Kessie, started Sergi, and in the end they both scored, both had an impact. So well done to him. To be fair to Xavi, we can't really criticize him for picking Sergio Roberto instead of Kessie, because in the end it worked. I just really like that midfield four, whether it's with Kessie or Pedri and Gavi, Busquets and De Jong, whoever are the four. I just like it, and I think that when they were a goal down, they still could press high the way they do as soon as the triggers were there. And then when they came back to 1-1 and controlled the game a bit more, they did, and they still had some verticality. I like De Jong's game, and in the end, even if a lot seems to rely on Rafinha's creativity, on the second goal, you could see that Balde can kind of utilizes all that sort of space on the left, because they don't have a proper left winger like they have on the right-hand side. And they did that, and maybe they should have done that a bit more through the game, because it clearly worked on that second goal, even if he was down to the moment of genius for Lewandowski, because that back heel is really what made that goal, and that was amazing from Lewandowski.
Yeah, so Balde down the left, I think that really has been one of the real intuitions of Xavi this season, you know. And I think sometimes we deserve. I'm biased because I like Xavi, right? But I think he deserves a lot of credit for, when you think about it, the way they've been winning this season, the way they've been successful. It's not been the lever superstars. You know, obviously they've been a part of it, right? But a lot of it has been, you know, putting your trust in Balde. Remember at the start, they had Jordi Alba and they went and they got Marcos Alonso, right? So you had two other options down the left. You know, they even played Balde right back. It looked like he was somebody who was like, hey, you know, you might be on the Junior Firpo plan, right? And yet he put his faith in him, and I think Balde has really responded.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's the best of the three by far.
Well, it's obvious now because we see him. Because he's playing him, right?
It must have been the case at training. That's why he starts him.
But it's not that obvious. A lot of managers, especially younger managers, where the club says, wait, we just gave Marcos Alonso a big contract. Jordi Alba won Champions Leagues. Right, you have to know when to do that. Right?
Yeah, no, true.
Who is this Balde guy? Right.
Yeah.
Where'd you find him? The other big call that he made in this game, I thought, was again flipping Araujo and Koundé. I thought that was interesting because you've got two guys, effectively Araujo and Koundé, dealing with the two biggest attacking threats on the other side.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a weird symmetry there too, if you want, between the two teams, because. Yeah, nominally, it's 4-3-3 on both teams. In practice, Gavi and Valverde are both inside,
you're
right?
So
you have two asymmetrical lineups.
Yeah.
And I was curious about the Araujo against Vinicius and the Koundé against Benzema battles. I thought Benzema had a poor game. And you can say, we were talking about it off air, you said, but Koundé was great.
Yeah, I thought Koundé was really good.
Fine, but Benzema... You know, was Benzema good and Koundé made him look less good, or Is there an issue with Benzema right now?
I don't think there is. I just don't think the service, there's a couple of crosses that went just behind him, for example. There's a couple of passes, and he looked frustrated at times by people around him not being sharp enough, not making the right pass. And I don't think he was as his sharpest either. But I
think he wasn't at his sharpest.
The team helped him.
Well, could it have been also because I thought he had to move around a lot more than you would normally expect him to do in this type of game? And I'm wondering if some of I agree, he didn't get great service. Koundé did a good job on him. I just thought he had to really move to try to find space. And we know he can do that because he's, as you said in the past, he's the best 9 and the best 10.
Yeah.
But if he moves around, there's nobody through the middle. Now, Vini against Araujo, I thought was interesting. There was a stat that came up on Liga TV saying that Vini was only successful in 2 of his 6 dribbles in the game.
Yeah.
It looked like he's always coming inside on Araujo. And Araujo obviously knows that.
Yeah. On this case, he didn't use at all the outside. He very often more uses the coming inside than going on the outside. But he's done it before. We've seen that even just recently against Real Madrid, for example, against Liverpool.
And maybe more of a 2-footed player, I think, than people give him credit for.
And even Carlo before the game said he can play on the right. Okay, you can say Carlo, but why did you never try it? I don't know. But maybe he felt that Araujo being right-footed, if you go on the outside, you're even more onto what Araujo is very good at. If you come inside, you're onto his left foot, and maybe he's not as comfortable. And certainly, at the beginning of the game, by the way, he goes on the outside on the goal, on the Araujo goal. And then he goes inside at some point, which is not a nutmeg, but it looks like a nutmeg a little bit when you watch it first time. But that's the only time, really, where it works. After that, I thought Araujo did really well. And then let's not forget that Araujo is key on the first Barca goal as well, by going forward. The cross goes to Sergio Roberto, eventually after the sort of ping-pong. So I thought that battle was amazing. It's not the first time. I think every time they're going to switch now. Every time they play each other, so we will see that again, I suspect, in the Copa del Rey semi-final second leg, and then at some point we'll see how Vinicius reacts, and maybe he will have to be a bit more unpredictable, because you're right, at some point he was too predictable what he was trying to do.
It's interesting, we talk about them switching, right? Benzema is really, really good in the air. I would have thought Araujo would be better defending in the air than Jules Koundé.
But then the ball never came. I mean, I don't think Benzema had a header yesterday.
But that brings me to us questioning Carlo here, and questioning some things that Carlo could have done differently. One is delivering more aerial service to Benzema. And you can say it's not your game, but if I have Koundé on Benzema, I'm not saying it's a mismatch, but it certainly favors Benzema. Right? Yeah. Koundé jumps high and whatever, but so does Benzema, and Benzema is like 10 centimeters, maybe not 10, but
he's taller than him.
He's 6 or 7 centimeters taller, right?
Yeah.
And maybe Araujo could have dealt with it. Yeah, obviously there's give or take. Otherwise, you leave Koundé against Vini. That was one thing which I think if he had to do it again, I think he would do things a little bit differently. The other thing is, we know Real Madrid are a very lopsided team. Most of the attack comes down the left, I think, for pretty obvious reasons, right? It's Modric ends up gravitating, hitting balls that way, and you also had Camavinga left-footed at the base of 3. But when he did make the changes, Carvajal had a highway on the right-hand side. Is that something that he should have done sooner?
Yeah, I thought so. To be fair, I wondered if at half-time he would change, or certainly on the hour. Maybe he left a little bit late. I don't know, that the game was so in the balance. Even if, as we said, Barcelona had control of the game in that second half after they scored the goal just before the break, I wondered if again Real Madrid became too predictable in that second half. And as soon as it changed, when you bring Asensio, Rodrigo, and you go for it like they did, and you expose yourself defensively, that's how the second goal comes from Barcelona. At least you put a lot of that into the Barcelona back four. So, okay, who's there? Who's on my side? There's more fluidity. Asensio scores his goal on the far post, for example, when he was supposedly to be as a right winger. So all of that, I think, disturbs massively the other team, which, when you don't make the changes, is very much like, Valverde is there, Vini is there, Karim is there, and the rest is still very, okay, this is what Barca prepared before the game. And yeah, I thought maybe Rodrigo came on quite early, but I think the others could have also come earlier.
And that brings me to my final point here, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, right? Barcelona deserved to win, but if that Asensio goal had scored, had counted, we would be sitting here praising Carlo's game plan and saying they deserve to win, because I think we can both agree that if that goal goes in, Barcelona don't score the winner on the counter, right?
Yeah, I think so too. You're right.
That's football, right?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. But overall, if you look at it now, it's an offside goal. They still didn't create enough for Real Madrid. It's an own goal they scored. And then the other one they could have scored, because really there's not much in between, to be fair.
But it would have been a deserved win.
It would have been in the sense that they would have...
If Asensio had been a centimetre onside.
I'm not sure if it would have been deserved in this. We
would
have
be praising Carlo's game plan.
Yeah, and his coaching especially, because at 1-1 it was not good enough. Then he made the substitution, and then the substitute wins you the game. Perfect. I still felt that Barca had a bit more to them in that game. And maybe, you know what, maybe I did think Real Madrid scored too early, and that kind of disturbed a little bit the game plan, because after that it felt all they wanted to do is keep the ball, to keep that score, to keep the scoreline really. And I think that's a bit counterproductive for them.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Maybe showing Barcelona a little too much respect in the way you play. But the reason I brought that whole thing up is just about football's all about narratives.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.